TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker.
Downloading to someone else's podcast.
So good morning. Welcome.
Yes, I tend to listen to a lot of my podcasts early in the morning.
Do you?
I do. But maybe there's a lot of people who listen while they're working out or driving home from work or on the weekends while they're grocery shopping.
Yeah, whatever. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, we do. And if you're in the Hudson Valley thing, extra special thank you.
We have made the top 10 list of podcasts of the Hudson Valley. We came in at number 2, unbelievably.
See, this is what happens. You vote and I vote. So we're 2.
Yeah.
No, we have no clue where this came from. We don't know who ranked this, but there they were. We got our email the other day. I actually thought it was just junk email. I'm like, this is some scam. We're going to have to pay. Remember that back in the day, Who's Who? Like high school. All you got to do is just pay a $50 fee and your name's in the book.
So it is FeedSpot is the company that ranked us. We were number 2 to a golf podcast, I believe. So.
It was a disc golf podcast. Apparently, we're above pickleball, but beneath the disc golf.
Well, hopefully this episode will keep us firmly on that list.
Also, hopefully it'll firmly establish that we need to keep our movie theaters open in the Hudson Valley. Anybody out there listening to me, stop closing these movie theaters.
Well, you got more closures in your area?
There's always rumors. Something's leaving, something's closing. You got to make room for another bank.
Dollar Tree, yeah.
I don't even have a Dollar Tree. Oh, that's not true. There's one in the mall.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, today we are going back into 5 bucket territory.
We stayed away from this for the longest time, and now all of a sudden we're deep in it.
Which usually means that there is not anything in theaters for us to cover.
That is true. So. Or we just got lazy and didn't want to do concession or news or 2 movies.
This is one that came out before we started this podcast, or we definitely
we've referenced it. We've definitely referenced it in the past, especially when we covered Infinity War and Endgame.
And when we did our top 10, top 20 Marvel movies way back when.
That was way back when. That was probably like episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many new Marvel movies have come and gone since?
And probably none of them would have made that list. But we're talking Thor, Ragnarok, the heralded and much loved 3rd entry in the Thor MCU series.
Yes, and thankfully it was the 3rd, because I feel that if this was the first out of the gate, our introduction to this character, purists would have lost their minds. I think it takes those first 2 movies to establish this kind of stoic and self-absorbed character.
Because I was a fan. I had the whole run. I actually still do. It's one of the few books that I still have. The whole run of Simonson Thor's. So I always envisioned a movie Thor being very Shakespearean, Lord of the Rings, gravitas to it.
Well, especially the way that he talks.
And you didn't quite get that. Believe me, it wasn't Oscar territory, but, Kenneth Branagh directed it. So you did have that
air.
You got a bit of that gravitas, while there was still some humor as well, lots of humor. And then Dark World. I loved Dark World when I first saw it. I came out of the theater raving, and then I found out that nobody I knew liked it at all.
Liked it. So and you're like, wait a minute. Did I see the same movie you saw?
But nobody argued over Ragnarok when this thing came out.
No, I don't think that. I think universally it was applauded. And rightfully so, with Mr. Director Taika Waititi, who up until this point, I don't think anybody really knew who he was.
No, but definitely they knew after.
He gave himself some street creds on this one. Unfortunately, he took it to the bank in Love and Thunder.
After Ragnarok, you'd think nobody else could direct a Thor movie. This has got to belong now to Taika Waititi. But the problem with that is if you go even a little bit further than Ragnarok took it, it gets into ridiculous territory. Ragnarok is a perfect balance, I think, of the gravitas that, the purists are looking for and the humor. It's got both. It's got a story that you're invested in. Love and Thunder was kind of all over the place, and I didn't really care.
No, and I wish I'd written it down because we did cover it. And it was definitely, as you said, so we split. I enjoyed it, but I think what got lost in the mix with that movie is the fact that it's all being told from Korg's point of view, and you lose that halfway through the movie. Because you could explain away some of the ridiculously because it's being told by him, this character.
Right. But
that was my take anyways. It doesn't matter. We're not here to rehash Love and Thunder. We're going to
Sakaar.
We're going to Sakaar. So I saw this on Disney Plus, and it looks fantastic. Did you watch it on Disney Plus? Or
No, I've got the Blu-ray, so I watched the Blu-ray.
Well, Disney Plus has it as the IMAX enhanced version.
Really? Could you tell it was enhanced?
It looked gorgeous. So I don't know. I don't know what the difference was. It's not like I had an option to watch the unenhanced. So I don't know. I don't really know.
Do they have IMAX TVs now? Is that possible?
That would be fantastic. I mean, listen, everyone's got a 70-inch on their wall now as it is. It was unheard of even 10 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know if it was resolution or the aspect ratio. I'm not entirely sure, but I found that interesting.
We just talked up Taika Waititi and his, he's all over this movie. It's difficult to believe that he didn't join this project until a year after it was confirmed. Initially, they were going after Alan Taylor to direct, who did Dark World.
This script?
I assume so. Yes.
I got the impression that they ad-libbed a lot of this stuff. So maybe
maybe, the basics were there, but then it was Taika'd or Waititi'd, however you want to.
Waititi'd.
Yeah. But
you've been Waititi'd.
But we've got all the most of the key players from the other Thor movies. Lady Sif is notably missing, notably absent, because I think she was doing her own TV show at the time, not as Lady Sif, but that actress. But we also get Bruce Banner, the Hulk, thrown in here.
We do.
And so they pigeonhole. You can talk to this more than I can because I'm not familiar with these books. But so they kind of pigeonhole the Planet Hulk run into a Thor movie with this, do they not?
Yes, correct. That's exactly when we see the Hulk on Sakaar being held in the games. I don't know if it was the Grandmaster and I think the Collector were the two main characters that stole all of the superheroes in the miniseries Contest of Champions back in the 80s. So they pulled from that as well because that's...
So how is that different than Secret Wars? Though I always wondered that Contest of Champions because I never picked up that book, Contest of Champions. Secret Wars I'm very familiar with.
Contest of Champions was only like a two issue run. Or
but
maybe three.
The same
but it
premise.
Was these two guys, kidnap all the superheroes and build out two teams, and then they just one-on-one, the thing has to fight the Hulk or whatever. They would just battle until there was one team left or one person left.
Okay.
They did. They pulled from a lot. Yeah. The minute you see the Incredible Hulk with his armor and whatnot, you're like, that's straight up Planet Hulk. And I believe that's also that storyline is where his son Scar comes from, who we were introduced to in the She-Hulk TV show.
Yes, a retrofit because there's no indication that Hulk knows.
He's been here but it's established that he's been missing. We haven't seen Bruce Banner since he stole the Quinjet at the end of Age of Ultron. And he's been missing for 3 years. So there's a big hole that they could go back theoretically and fill in this storyline.
They could have, at the very end of this, instead of having Thanos show up, as everybody's sitting, like Captain Kirk on the Enterprise looking out at what's ahead of them. On the Sakaar ship, all of Asgard is there. And Hulk and Loki and Thor and Heimdall are in the front. Hulk could have said, Hulk has son, and then end it.
Then just cut.
Yeah.
What? Hulk. I want to know how the Grandmaster even knew that he was the Incredible Hulk.
Well, he only says incredible, and then he doesn't finish, right?
I think he introduces him as the Incredible Hulk.
No, well, he just says incredible, and then it dies.
Oh, okay.
He never finishes the phrase.
I fill that in my own brain?
I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew he was the Hulk.
But he does call himself Hulk, and every sentence that he utters.
The crowds are chanting Hulk. They got paper mache posters and face masks. I hope he's getting some of the merchandising rights there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Banner has a point. You don't see a Banner face mask anywhere in that stadium.
No, well, he's been the Hulk. He's been the Hulk the whole time. Yeah. So, unfortunately, this is the last time you really see a worthy Hulk. A raging, out of control, fighting mad Hulk, because in Infinity War, which is what they teased at the end of this, he immediately gets taken out by Thanos, and then he's Bruce Banner.
And then the Hulk has performance issues after that.
You're right. Yeah, Hulk doesn't want to come out. Hulk want to hide.
So this was released, as I said, right before we started this enterprise, this TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind, in November of 2017. A budget of $180 million and box office $855 million. So these were the golden days of the MCU, when it seemed like every release was better than the last one. They could do no wrong. And this was
true.
just...
I think that was actually true.
Yeah.
Once you get to Endgame, it literally was the Endgame. It was like, we're done here. Although, I don't know. We just saw a teaser. Did you see the teaser for Avengers Doomsday?
They've already started? I haven't seen that.
So Disney did this live feed that every 10 minutes or something, they would reveal a new name. And it's just, the canvas backed chairs that all actors sit in on set, and it has their names embroidered on the back. And it just starts with one name, Chris Hemsworth. And if you watch it, it's like a 5-hour feed, but you can fast forward through it and someone has edited it. And then every 10 minutes, they would pan down and reveal another name. So it is being directed by the Russo brothers, who gave us Infinity War. And
now, is this kind of a defeat on Marvel's part, saying there's no way we can keep this secret, so we might as well put it out there first?
Well, I think it's the Russo brothers teasing the idea that we are now starting to film. The big reveal last year was the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Dr. Doom. So there's been a lot of grumblings about that they, all these movies, exactly what you said, all these other movies that have come out since Endgame have really kind of like, there's no cohesive move forward. They're not building up to yet another big movie. You can never
thinking what happened with the Kang Dynasty as well. If they were doing that, they would have been screwed, because they would have had to go with it.
They've now had to pivot big time on that, which is unfortunate. I guess you could have just recast Kang, but they decided not to. So I'm not going to reveal all the names, but there's a lot of people grumbling that there aren't other names haven't been revealed yet. And I'm like, they literally just set this up. So you have to assume that there are other big names.
Yeah, they have to be holding something back.
Right. Yeah. You're 2 years out. You're not going to give me everything right now. But they're trying to build this appetite again. It's getting a lot of buzz online, that's for sure. So if you don't want to know, stay away.
So this is next year, right? 2026?
I think it's 2026. They keep moving these dates around, and they're changing the names. Like you said, it was, King Dynasty is now this Doomsday. Having Robert Downey Jr. as, I'm assuming he's a variant of Tony Stark and not Victor Von Doom. We've already delved into this multiverse, so I don't know.
as we were saying, when these movies were first coming out, Ragnarok being one of them, they were all building towards this Infinity War Endgame. And not only that, but they had time, or they made the effort to make several Thor movies on the way to Infinity War Endgame.
Right.
Shang-Chi, we were teased at the end that he was coming back in his own movie, which has not happened yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But the other smart thing with this, which early on, those Marvel movies, you would always get, I mean, they were pretty much standalone, but at the end, you would get that little end credit teaser that let you know that something bigger is coming. At the end of Iron Man, where Sam Jackson shows up and basically, mentions the Avengers initiative. Thor's hammer shows up at the end of end credit of one of the other movies. So they're teasing this stuff now that they've got all these guys established. By the time we get to Ragnarok, you can bring in Doctor Strange, who just had his own movie prior to that. They were on course to actually dismantle those sets, and they were able to bring him in, because there's that scene where Doctor Strange brings in Thor and he gives him the ever-filling glass of beer.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why do I remember this as an end credit scene? And it was. It's an end credit scene, but they just expanded upon it in here. So they're literally, as much as we've had these discussions, which is, why do I have to watch 25 movies to understand what's going on? It's just there's these little tiny Easter eggs. This is not even tiny. This is just like straight up. Oh yeah, if you watch that movie, here's that scene, but here's how it all ties in. I loved Cumberbatch as just popping in as this character, and even going deeper than that, deeper than Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange. At the very end of Dark World, you get the reveal that all is not as it should be in Asgard, that Loki, who has appeared to have died at the end of that movie, didn't, and he's actually impersonating Odin. And you're like, well, what? Wait a second. How did he do that? And where's Odin? And so you don't find out the answers until Ragnarok, and it's really kind of just like a throwaway early scene. It is played for laughs. So again, I guess if the other director had stayed on, this would be a much more just straightforward action movie.
Yes, and I brought this up during our second episode of our favorite Marvel movies, but I'm going to reiterate this now, that it needs that humor, because if not, this is an absolute tragedy. This is going to be a depressing movie, because Odin dies. Thor's hammer is destroyed. He gets his eye plucked out, and then Asgard blows up.
Yeah, that eye is one of the worst special effects. They just, all right, close your eye and we're just going to paint the eye.
It looked like one of those masks you could get in Spirit Halloween. That's, where just a black canvas over where the eye should be.
Yeah, there's no hole in the socket, nothing.
Well, it is, a Disney movie now.
I know, but I'm immediately just looking at it the whole time.
Yeah.
Especially in the glorious IMAX enhanced. It's like, wait a minute. You're just closing your eye. She didn't pluck your eye out at all. Yes. The character of Korg, how would he have played if he wasn't comedic the entire time? Who is voiced by Taika Waititi?
Yeah, or maybe that character wasn't even involved before Taika.
And that is true, because he really is, he's comic relief.
Yeah.
But the humor's there from the very beginning. And this is the genius that I think Taika saw, that Chris Hemsworth does have pretty good timing. And there's numerous times the running joke of, Mjolnir not showing up when he needs it to, his hands outstretched like he's about ready to wall up your butt. But, in the beginning, when we first introduced to him and he's in the cage, and it's one of those, I suppose you wonder how I got here kind of a thing.
Yep.
But when he's talking to Surtur and he's hanging by the chain, and every time he rolls around, so he's facing the other. Oh, wait. Hold on. I'm cut. Which I didn't realize that's Clancy Brown.
Really? Surtur
is
Clancy Brown? I didn't know that.
I did not recognize that voice at all. The other thing I'll say, which is we were introduced to Volstagg and Fandral in those Thor movies. and they get taken out. Hela takes them out in like a heartbeat in this movie. How they even got credit, I don't know.
What is their name? The group, the Furious Three or something? It sounds like an early 80s rap group, whatever it is.
Two Life Crew.
But yeah, to your point, that whole opening scene with Surtur and Thor is like says something like I'm gonna bust out of here now, and he opens his hand and he's like, I timed that wrong. Hold on.
Yeah, right. And you kind of hear it, it's banging around. It does the same thing in Strange's office in the house. You hear it like
and this
around.
Is when you get like the first instance of Immigrant Song, and you're like, yes, this is just the right tone when he's busting out all these whatever.
I don't know. I when you bring in pop songs like this, it works so well in the context of, like, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's Peter's soundtrack. It's the only connection he has to Earth was the cassette that his mom gave him when he was a kid. Here, it's grown on me, and I'll be honest with you. I was probably today year old when I actually knew what the name of the song was. I know it. It's a very famous Led Zeppelin song.
It's like, it's that song that goes, ah.
And I think the only reason they used it is because it does mention some Asgardian god or something.
Yeah, it talks about the ice and snow, but usually that's, the subject matter of Led Zeppelin is like mythical crap like that. Yeah. So there's a pass there.
But yes, this fight
he
sequence,
goes to town.
Yep. It sets the tone.
And I love that shot where you're following Mjolnir as it's going in the circle.
Going around, yeah, because this is much closer to like the comic books where he's really swinging the hammer around, where it's just like the way that Jack Kirby used to draw it. And I think every artist since then, the hammer is just a giant whirlwind, like a fan that he's spinning it. Speaking of Jack Kirby, I mean, when you get to Sakaar, there's some straight up Kirby art on the wall.
Well, look at Hela as well, herself.
Oh, that helmet is straight up. That's about as comic accurate as you're going to get, that whole costume. Mm-hmm. But even like the Centurions and Grandmasters in his office there, like those guys are straight up celestial looking right from Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
They don't do much, but they look cool.
In this universe, if they based their outfits on Celestials, because they probably know what Celestials are out there.
Well, this was before Eternals, so where else would Celestial was in Guardians of the Galaxy, but that would have been later too.
Well, no, because remember, Valkyrie says, as she's on the team, as they're about to escape Sakaar, she goes, okay, we have to get through one of these portholes. We can go through this one. We can fuel up on Xandar and then go to Asgard.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Throwaway line there.
Yeah.
Well, you better get there because Xandar's about to be non-existent.
Yeah, in 45 minutes during a deleted scene in Infinity War. Which still hasn't been released, that deleted
scene. Off camera, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think that would show up. So, but yeah, we get this. Tom Hiddleston comes back as Loki, and they just play off each other so well.
You're introduced to Loki, still impersonating Odin, but is he mischievously trying to rule the universe? No, he's just sitting around in his pajamas, eating grapes and watching plays based on himself.
Watching Matt Damon and Sam Neill and Luke Hemsworth, by the way,
playing his brother, and he's erecting giant statues in his own honor.
Yeah. Well, what else would you do?
I wonder if Hela kept that Loki statue. Because you never see her take that down.
It's still standing there.
Yeah. It's still just floating in the universe now that it's blown up.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Walt Simonson run of the comics, but there's a nice little throwaway line. I'm sorry I turned you into a frog that time.
Yes.
But I think we saw that frog. Didn't we see that frog in a little teaser?
In the Void, you saw the frog. Remember when the camera during Loki, the camera's panning underground and then like above ground in one of the layers is the frog
I can't even
in a
remember
jar.
like where we saw it, but yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself though, when they're saying, "Oh, remember that time I turned you into a frog?" They seem to be friends in the first Thor. I'm like, when would that have happened? Because Loki was kind of making believe he was with everybody else in the first Thor. But I digress.
He was a little blue baby icicle.
Yeah, but we also getting introduced to Scourge, Carl Urban playing Scourge.
Carl Urban does not get the credit. This man is played so many different characters. It's insane. Billy the Butcher in The Boys. But even like Dr. McCoy in Star Trek. Andy was in they rebooted.
And he does a spot on McCoy. It's
oh yeah, no. Fantastic. Yeah. Eomer in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is just everywhere. And he's very mercurial. He's always somebody different.
And he's hilarious. He's taken over Heimdall's position in the Bifrost because apparently, Loki knows that Heimdall probably can see through his ruse.
Sure.
So he's got to ban Heimdall.
And
who's gone into hiding.
This is like a throwaway line when Thor first gets back.
And what's hilarious with what Carl Urban's doing, he's trying to impress these two maidens there in the Bifrost. And he's got all this gear from Earth that he's showing off.
These are my two swords, Dez and Stroy.
I got these from Texas.
Together they destroy. Yeah. He's a goof, but boy, he capitulates way too quickly there when Hela shows up. Because she takes out, like I said, she takes out Volstagg, who was Ray Stevenson, by the way, who actually went on to play that character in Ahsoka. And now he just passed. He just passed recently.
Right.
Again, these characters like pop their heads up and immediately get taken out. They must have showed up on set for like an hour.
Yeah. But Thor shows up along with the severed dragon's head, the dragon that was chasing him.
A genius, by the way.
Cut off in the Bifrost.
Yeah.
I don't know if this thing sliding across the floor was practical or not, but it sure does look practical.
Looks it, yeah. And the green blood that's all over these poor maidens.
Yes.
They're horrified.
Are these the same maidens that are in front of the Asgardian horde at the end on the bridge? I have a feeling that they were.
Question. Maybe. I didn't pick up on that.
But Thor's back. Scourge had one job, to tell Loki when Thor shows up.
And yes, and see, this is where it's like Thor just takes off flying. He's like, wait, I have to introduce you.
And doesn't Loki know that Thor is going to get to Asgard before Scourge can? How is he going to tell Loki?
But that's the joke, is that
don't they have CB radios in Asgard? I guess not.
I guess not. No, but that's funny because Thor's there. He unveils Loki for who he is. And then all of a sudden, Scourge shows up and he's like, Thor. He's like 10 minutes late.
And now they have to go off and find Odin. So this is where you get your Doctor Strange tie-in.
So Loki leaves him in a nursing home in New York City.
It doesn't even sound like he left him in the home. He left him on the sidewalk in front of the home. And then what, confused him with a spell?
That's my take, is that, because Odin said eventually he just broke free of the spell. Broke free of it, yeah. Didn't tell anybody, hey, I'm okay. Listen, didn't worry about what was going on back home or the fact that his adopted son did this to him.
But Doctor Strange is very concerned, rightly so, because Loki was the cause of the events in the first Avengers movie, that this guy is back on Earth and you need to get off planet as soon as your business is done. And I love it because while they're having this discussion, he just puts Loki through one of his magic portals. And when he finally comes out, he's like, I've been falling for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. That was a nice touch, by the way, when they were on Earth and Thor was walking around with an umbrella. Because that's a nice callback to the original comic books where Dr. Donald Blake that was Mjolnir, would just be disguised as an umbrella. You
know what they should have shown, though? Again, he holds out his hand and you hear the umbrella just breaking through the Bleecker Street, and then it comes back to Thor's hand. But then you see the staircase, and it's completely intact. There should have been a hole through the staircase.
Something.
Yeah.
Or if you set it down, no one else would have been able to pick it up. That was the one thing with the dragon, was he just put the hammer inside its mouth, and it couldn't lift it. So it was keeping his mouth open. So
you do get, in the first 15 minutes or so of this movie, Waititi is able to establish how important the hammer is to Thor. So, you're you've obviously seen this in the Avengers and Thor 1 and Thor 2, but he reiterates it in the first 15 minutes, especially with that huge underground Surtur battle scene.
Right.
But Odin says, my time is done. Why? Old age? I don't know why exactly his time is done. But I'm going to dissipate right now. I'd rather dissipate here in Norway than at home in Asgard.
Listen, if you're going to go away, Norway's not a bad place.
Yeah. But as soon as I do, hell is going to come, because as long as I was alive, she was imprisoned. But now that I'm going to be gone, she's here. So good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And he just, off he goes. I love Peter Pan. He just,
yeah.
Sparkles away.
On cue, portal opens, Hela comes out, has her first encounter with her two brothers. Does not go well for them.
No, they didn't know they had a sister.
No. Thor's hammer gets crushed, although, we later find out in Love and Thunder that it reconstituted itself just for the sake of Jane Foster.
Who, again, we don't see Jane in here at all. It's a throwaway line when they're in New York. The girls come and take their picture with Thor. Oh, sorry, Jane broke up with you. Well, I broke up with her.
Actually, it was a mutual dumping.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's why Jane's not in this movie.
Yeah. Fat Thor mourns her in Endgame a little bit as well.
Well, when you get fat and you sit around drinking all day, you got nothing better to do but lament on your past glories.
Right.
He's like, well, I screwed that up. I used to be good looking. Now I can't even get a maiden. Yeah, this fight with Hela in the Bifrost as they're making their way back to Asgard is pretty fun.
It is, yeah, because Loki immediately, as soon as he sees that hammer get crushed, he's like, I'm out of here. And he yells for the Bifrost.
Yep. No. And of course, she's right on their tail. She's in there as well. And
he's the first one that gets thrown out of the Bifrost, apparently to go right through one of these portals to Sakaar. But Thor also, just seconds later, gets thrown out.
Man.
But, Sakaar, time works differently, as the Grandmaster tells us. So Loki's been there a couple of weeks once Thor arrives. And it's just like a big garbage dump. He just falls out of the sky into a big dump of garbage. And I guess it's where all the lost things of the universe come to collect.
Yeah, it's never really explained. It's a neat visual, but like, how long could you sustain that? I mean, the crap is just falling through these portals.
I've probably got lost keys somewhere in one of those piles of Sakaar.
My crypto coins on a thumb drive is in there somewhere. I got to go look for it. But he's immediately, Thor is immediately confronted by these scavengers. Are you a fighter or are you food? And he's like, no, you don't understand. You're food. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without his hammer, he doesn't know what to do. So they easily capture him with like electrified nets.
And again, this is a running joke numerous times, because then Valkyrie gets a hold of him, puts one of these little devices on his neck and zaps him multiple times.
Yep.
And this is Valkyrie. Tessa Thompson kills it as this character.
Yeah, one of the most memorable scenes, I think, in the movie is her initially showing up and then falling off.
She's drunk. She just falls right off the side of the ship. So they're like,
into like the dead carcass of some animal.
But don't you think? Oh yeah, that's right. She's pulling her arm out.
Yeah.
But don't you think these people would have wanted her ship and just been like, we've already got this guy in this electro net. Let's go take that ship.
Yeah. No, but she takes care of them easily.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she is a Valkyrie. Now, is her name Valkyrie? Because they were all Valkyries.
Weird. Right. They're all named Valkyrie. That gets very confusing.
I'm Valkyrie. Maybe what was her name on Sakaar? Scrounger 42 or something?
They call it Scrapper or something.
So maybe she was Valkyrie 42. Same number.
442. You think they would have come up with a better system?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I be Mary? No, her name is just Valkyrie, and she is a Valkyrie.
Yep.
He doesn't pick up on that right away.
Not until he sees the tattoo, but
right.
Yeah. But she's got no, she doesn't. Actually, I was going to say she has the outfit on, but it's a different outfit.
It's a different outfit. And I thought that those facial markings were like part of her, but at the end of the movie, they're not there. So I guess she takes them off at night.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
sports
she has
tape or
to put.
something.
Well, somebody says, is that how many people you've killed? So maybe she adds more the next day.
Yeah, maybe. It's a lot of work. No wonder why she only just kept her work name as her name.
Well, she's drunk all the time. She probably doesn't remember what her real name is.
It's true. That could be. She steals. She beats up those. Well, she guns them all down, which is pretty brutal.
And she's got like that RoboCop, like a Blue Thunder kind of automatic gun where it follows her arms.
We don't see more of that though.
Yeah,
because that was fantastic. So she's got like this symbiotic relationship with the ship that she controls them with her arms. So that's
that only
cool.
works half the time, apparently.
Right. Well, she got to spend her money on her alcohol.
Yeah, true.
She ain't got time to fix that ship. Resources. And this is where we get this reveal of the stadium, this big, huge tower that has all these heads, including Hulks. And one of them is Beta Ray Bill. Yes, which I lost my mind over when I saw it, but that's as far as we ever get.
This would suggest that Beta Ray Bill was a champion of Grandmaster.
Yeah. That would be my take.
But I think that they are still planning on debuting Beta Ray Bill, if not in Thor 5 in one of these new Avengers movies. So we'll see.
Yeah. There's been a couple times where you felt, even like Love and Thunder, you felt that maybe, if you're going to get goofy with some of this stuff, that would be the right way to introduce this character. But
oh yeah, with Taika, definitely.
Yeah, no, we got teased, but that's as far as it's gone so far.
Yeah, but in the meantime, as Tessa Thompson takes Thor hostage, you see Hela back on Asgard, and she, as you said, recruits Scourge immediately. As I'm here to take stuff over. You need a job? Yeah.
Yeah, because she goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm the janitor."
Because he's still mopping up the dragon guts, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not going to reveal that he is I'll, whatever you want me to be. That's right. Yep. You want a job? Let's go. Okay. But I like his character because he immediately realizes that, I'm in over my head. Yeah. She wants me to kill these people.
So yeah, she decimates her own army, first of all, because they're having none of it when she
they fight her. Well, she wants it. She's again, it's like Zod, kneel before me.
Yeah. Kudos to Cate Blanchett as well as this character, because she's just eating the scenery. She lays down the whole story. I'm Hela, I'm Odin's firstborn. And then one of the Furious Three, if that's even their name, the surviving one, is there in the front of the audience. Who are you? Weren't you just listening to what I said?
Right, correct. Do I have to? Yeah. Yeah, no.
So yeah, she takes out almost all of the Asgardian army. It's like, no problem. It's a shame I had to kill so many good soldiers, but all the bodies of the dead soldiers are below us, and I'll just revive them along with my pet wolf that is still intact. So,
Rick. Yeah, he didn't. Yes. She's like, what have they done to you? Yeah. Well, how old is he? My cat's pushing 18, and I don't think he's getting around very well.
Yeah, no.
At Fenric, he was like, dude, just leave me here to die. But yeah, so this is actually a really nice scene. It takes place a little bit later where she actually shows Scourge that her whole history of, how Odin conquered the 9 realms was with these Valkyrie and with Hela. And then, so all these mosaics that are hidden away, and they're cool. It's a neat story device.
Yeah, that's a great visual actually. When she breaks away the roof that's been overlaid over the original mosaic,
right?
And just shows that this whole place is a lie. It's set up on a lie.
And then all these soldiers are just laying dead in state down below.
So it's kind of it's building the idea that Asgard deserves Ragnarok. Don't cry for Asgard.
Yeah, no, I think Odin was like, oh no, it's coming. Don't fight it.
Yep.
There's nothing you can do to stop it. I keep having these dreams. Yeah, well, that's because it's about to come true.
But Thor is like, but I destroyed Surtur. He's like, well, no, because then you're going to have to bring him back. And then, he doesn't go that far.
He doesn't go back, right? Well, Thor puts the pieces together at the end.
Yeah.
He figures it out. But this is the neat thing when they go into, because we've seen this in the I think it was the first Thor movie, that Odin has like this treasure room. And one of the things on display is the Infinity Gauntlet,
which everybody lost their minds over when you see it.
But then when you've seen, all these little teasers at the end of these movies tying into the fact that Thanos is now collecting the Infinity Stones, you're like, well, wait a minute, isn't that in the Asgard Museum? And she immediately knocks it over and says, fake. She goes, pretty much everything in here is fake. So in one fell swoop, they just, all these stupid fan theories that are out there, like, wait a minute, what's going on?
But why wouldn't a fake work? Because Tony Stark made a fake and that worked.
It is true. Right. Because it's the stones.
Yeah.
Like you could make, I don't know, whatever. One glove? I think I would have made a couple.
So, again, maybe you might know the answer to this. Hela says to Scourge at one point, I helped my father defeat or take over the 9 realms, but I don't want to stop at the 9 realms. I thought that the 9 realms were the universe in Marvel.
I couldn't tell you if that's true or not. She does make it sound like there's much more to conquer.
Yeah.
Canada, Greenland.
So what's outside of the 9? What do they call that on Asgard?
Right, the other crap.
Yeah.
And the rest.
There's the 9 realms and the rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess 9's not enough for her.
Transitioning from this to where Thor is amazing. This is like the best part of this movie.
This should not work at all. This whole sequence should not work. And this is, I think, the brilliance of Taika Waititi. To find you've already established this tone, but all of a sudden, Thor is tied into a chair and he's literally going through a Disney ride with Willy Wonka's song playing.
They're talking up the Grandmaster. You are about to meet the Grandmaster.
Yeah, you are now property of the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster.
Prepare to meet him in 5, 4.
Right.
And Thor's sitting there, and it turns into the boat ride in Willy Wonka, where he's screaming, and then suddenly
all of a sudden he's just
he's not on the ride anymore. He's still in the chair, but he's surrounded by people.
But the fact that they're playing "World of Pure Imagination," this song, which is you're like, what is going on right now? But Jeff Goldblum just kills it. Jeff Goldblum is a genius. Sorry,
he is.
In the comics, I think the Grandmaster is blue. But I love what they've done here with this character. Like they literally are leaning in, as I mentioned before, that Jack Kirby, that wild designed, the character itself has the blue makeup that comes down his chin. And he's got the smoky eyeliner going on. And of course, Goldblum's delivery is just spot on. He's genius.
And Thor can't get out of the chair because he's got whatever magnetic shackles on.
Yeah.
And Tessa Thompson is controlling this. And as he's getting mad, the little lightning sparkles are coming out of his fingers. He
literally calls them sparkles.
Oh, look, sparkles. He's got sparkly fingers.
Sparkles. Oh, yeah, sparkles. He goes, what's it, Lord of Thunder? No.
And then he's like, I'm going back to Asgard. Asgard? What?
Asgard. She does get 10 million units, though.
She does. And then he sees that Loki's there. And he says, I got here weeks ago. Yeah. I found favor with this man.
Is that, then we get poor cousin Carlo gets melted. Yes. Yeah, there's some wacky shit going on here. That's pretty wild. So, but Loki's there. He wants nothing to do with this. Don't ruin this. I don't know you, but this is also where we get to meet Korg and Meek.
And Meek, yes. He gets thrown into the cage with all the other contestants that is going to face his ultimate champion. And we don't know who that ultimate champion is just yet.
Unless you saw the trailer.
The trailer.
Yeah, I think they destroyed it. And it would have been a fantastic reveal.
It would have been, but, like a Red Hulk kind of a deal, you got to mark it.
So, but this is also, Korg again, like I said, he's there for comic relief. He's like, my name is Korg, and I made a rock. Don't let that intimidate you unless you made a scissors. Oh, it's a rock. That's a paper rock and scissor joke. And calls him Doug.
Calls him Doug, yeah.
See you
It's
later,
like,
new Doug.
like, meet Doug. Oh, Doug's dead.
Doug's dead. Oh, Doug. I'll see you later, new Doug. Oh, well, another day, another Doug. So this guy's just kind of like giving up. You're just in there fighting for entertainment. This is bread and circuses, man. This is the Roman Coliseum. Give the people what they want: death and destruction.
But before he gets there, he gets his hair cut by none other
Oh, Mr. Stan Lee.
than Stan Lee.
This was not his last cameo. No. When did he pass? 2019, I think.
So he was probably in maybe Black Panther.
Spider-Man. There was a Spider-Man. I don't remember in Black Panther.
He had
There was I really wish that somebody was smart enough to just like friggin' film like 20 different cameos that you could just drop in there.
Yeah.
Because they are fun. They are such little Easter eggs that you look forward to that. And the fact that he's, cutting Thor's hair is fantastic.
And Thor's like, you shall not touch my hair. Then as he's getting closer, please, sir, don't cut my hair.
Hold still. But this is where, like you said, he starts lamenting the fact that I lost my hammer. And Korg's like, wow, sounds like you had a pretty special relationship with this hammer. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, we used to fly to you rode on the hammer? Well, no, I didn't ride on the hammer.
Yeah, he's like, the hammer pulled me. The hammer pulled you off?
Because it just sounds so absurd. But yeah, so they gear him up. They send him out with his new haircut, which looks fantastic. Not many people can pull this. Chris Hemsworth is, he's a good looking dude.
Well, yeah, because, he's got to wear a wig every time he's Thor up until this point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this hair is, it's all clearly Stan Lee did not go to any beautician school because there's some gouges taken out of his head.
Well, they look like they're actual symbols, so maybe there's some method to this madness.
No, I just got the impression that big giant scissor thing that he was hacking his head across just went too deep. So, but it looks good. Looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and this is where the Grandmaster Champion shows up, and lo and behold, it is the Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
So as he reveals, Thor's just laughs out loud like,
yes. Loki immediately says, I gotta get out of here, because we know how that went last time Loki met the Hulk. But this line, he's a friend, we know each other, he's a friend from work. Everywhere you look, it's accredited to some Make-A-Wish kid that was on set that day, and it was her idea for that line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that's a good story.
Yeah, I think Hemsworth tells that story himself.
Yeah, it's on IMDb as well. And yeah, they don't tell you the kid's name, just some Make-A-Wish kid.
Yeah, I hope that kid has screenwriter credit now.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's, right, you want to be able to this day, said, that line in the movie? Yeah, it was my idea. Yeah. What? Yeah, just go look it up on IMDb.
Yeah.
It just says Make-A-Wish kid. It could be anybody.
Yeah, actually, on Wikipedia, there's 4 writers listed, and the last one is Make-A-Wish Kid. So,
nice, well played, Make-A-Wish Kid. Should I make that check out to Wish Kid or Make-A-Wish? Is that 2 hyphens? No banner, only Hulk.
Yeah, this is why Hulk attacks him, because Thor insists on calling him Banner repeatedly, which is angering him. So,
well, you don't want to. You don't like me when I'm angry.
No,
Mr. McGee. Yeah, no.
So maybe if Thor tried his later tact of saying, "Well, you are the strongest Avenger," he might have saved himself some grief here.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that he had that in his arsenal at the moment. He was just kind of like, hold on, I know this guy. Whoa, and immediately gets beat up and tossed around just like the Hulk did to Loki. So,
but Thor gets in some shots. He hits him with that hammer and sends him right across
around. Yeah,
when he destroys the side of the stadium.
This is like the WWE. This is like silencing the crowd. was like, well, that took the crown out of it. Yeah.
And at this point, Thor actually manages to summon the thunder, the lightning, for the first time, I think, without the hammer. So zaps the Hulk and in effect wins the fight. But then Grandmaster gets nervous. Oh, he can't beat my champion.
You got to rig this stuff, man.
Yeah.
You can't. You probably money on this.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I think Loki had money on it. But as Odin tells him later, you're not Lord of the Hammer. That the hammer was just a conduit. You got this all. You don't need the hammer in order to summon the lightning.
So does this mean, like, when Vision is able to pick up the hammer in Ultron and Cap is able to pick up the hammer in Endgame, that they both had the power of Thor? So they were enhanced at that point, even beyond what they normally were. They never really spell that out.
They don't, because it's not like... Did Captain America have like lightning bolts coming out of his eyeballs?
I don't remember. Well, maybe we'll have to go and look at that again.
Yeah, I think it was just it was a worthiness.
Right. So that's why you're worthy. Like, if you can pick up this hammer, get that power, and then put it down again, then you're worthy.
Right. Yeah. But no, you're embarrassing, man. I told them we were friends, but yeah, you're right. He does summon the lightning, electrocutes the Hulk, and is pretty much on his way to victory. And Grandmaster wants none of it, and that's where Korg's like, "Well, another day, another Doug." Yeah,
because the Hulk, jumps a mile into the air.
Yes, yeah, that's actually a great. So go back. We haven't really seen the Hulk do stuff like that. Go all the way back to the Ang Lee, the first Hulk movie, where he's running through the desert, literally like building up the hopping to be able to like jump over the mountaintops and stuff. Like, we don't see the Hulk do that in this iteration of the MCU.
No, in the first Avengers, he's like jumping from building to building and stuff like that.
That's true.
But not like miles.
No.
And he jumps in the air to save Tony Stark, right?
Yeah,
when Iron Man falls.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing to this level. So yeah, he jumps a mile in the air and comes down and punches Thor in the face from a mile above. I think that would kill, anybody, even Thor.
Well, he's like flat and he's in the ground like Wile E. Coyote when he falls off the butte. Just a Thor-shaped hole in the ground.
Yep.
And then he wakes up they put him in the same suite. I think if I was Thor or if I was the Hulk, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Get this guy his own room. It's my room, my hot tub.
Yeah, it's like the community grotto.
Yeah, I was waiting to see some bubbles pop up in that hot tub there. Some level.
That would actually kill Thor.
Right. Because he actually just kind of rolls his eyes. He's like, Hulk in a hot tub. Yep. It's just like, all right, this is absurd.
But then he gets out of the hot tub. He's like, oh, I'll never unsee that.
Yep. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, we got a giant green penis joke in there without saying as much. But we find out that the Quinjet is just outside his window.
Yeah.
Been parked there 3 years. You think it would have been stripped for parts by now, but it just kind of sits there.
So, because Sakaar is like a gathering place for lost things, like the Hulk just, maybe one of these portals called out to him and he got sucked in.
Yeah. I don't know. So now he thinks that they got to team up together. They got to get out of here. Yeah. Let's go. Let's build a team. No Hulk, no team. Hulk, only Hulk. He's got it pretty good there.
Then they start going back and forth like, what we call you? The stupid Avenger.
Right. You baby arms. He tells him he's got baby arms.
Then Hulk's like, bad friend.
Yes. He tries to communicate with Heimdall.
Yes. So
that was the remote view. He brings him in. He's like, hey, what's going on in Asgard, dude?
But Heimdall, he's too far away to see where Thor actually is, but Thor can see what's going on in Asgard. Now, Hela, again, previously says she wants to go beyond the 9 realms and take over everything. But Heimdall has stolen the Bifrost, so she's stuck on Asgard. She can't do anything.
That was a quick little scene, and you didn't even realize who. I mean, obviously now you know who it was. That it was Heimdall who stole the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her power isn't that she's beholden to the Bifrost. She can't do anything or go anywhere without it.
Asgardians are. They can't
go
anywhere without accessing this thing.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else has this like a spare key, a spare sword to this thing.
You would think there'd be an extra one laying around somewhere.
Yeah.
Custodian. Scourge. Hold on, I got one in the broom closet. Give me a minute.
So Heimdall is taking all the Asgardian people, like, 5 at a time, and he's bringing them to this Lord of the Rings dwarf place, the Mines of Moria.
The Mines of Moria, yeah.
And when he gets there, they're just standing around. They can't even sit. There's so many of them.
No, yeah. All right, what do we do now? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're hungry. It's Heimdall.
I'm hungry. Eat that guy over there with baby arms.
They start to have a rave, just like in The Matrix 2.
Is that what goes on? Yes, Guardian rave. Yeah.
So Thor tries not only to get the Hulk to help him, but Valkyrie. And this is when he figures out who she is because he sees the tattoo on her arm. Tells her that Hela is back, Odin is dead. And from that, she starts to have a change of heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a great scene when he's trying to make his case to her and they're trying to break out and he picks up this big heavy metal ball and he throws it against the window and immediately bounces back and hits him in the head and he falls down. Laugh out loud.
And also it's a great moment for Valkyrie because she says, okay, tell me your story. You have as long as it takes for me to drink this bottle. And
oh yeah. And she chugs it. Yeah. Listen, she's seasoned. She's a seasoned vet, man. She's out there.
Yep.
Plugging this stuff down. So they do break out and he gets into the Quinjet and can't figure out the password until he realizes, damn you, Tony Stark. Password is Point Break, which is a Keanu Reeves movie reference.
Yeah. Flashback to the Avengers when that is what Tony Stark is calling Thor.
Yeah. But this is also a nice callback because the Hulk breaks in, immediately destroys the Quinjet.
Yeah, and I don't think we were ever told that the Quinjet at this point is capable of space travel. You
like
just see the Hulk flying away.
It's there for 3 years, so the idea that no one salvaged it for parts or scavenged it, it's just been sitting there.
Yeah.
But it's really, they're not going to go anywhere because it's just, you see the video that Natalie was trying to get the Hulk to turn around. And that's enough for him to freak out and basically become Banner again. And then realize that he had been a Hulk all this time and had no control.
After he pretty much says, no, Thor, bad friend, he doesn't want Thor to leave. And that's why he follows him into the Quinjet. He's like,
probably
friend, no leave. Right. Friend, no leave.
I think his only friend was Valkyrie.
Yeah. Well, he's got a son at this point. He's got that, he's got something still there.
That is true. We don't know that at this point, but repopulation.
Tries to fight it, but he turns back to Banner, and Banner has to put on Tony Stark's clothes, which part of it is, and of the ensemble is a Duran Duran t-shirt.
Which is a complete missed opportunity to not have a Duran Duran song in the soundtrack.
Yeah. And it would fit perfectly.
Right. It literally is the cover, or Patrick Nagel's artwork from the cover of Rio. His first question is, well, what about Sokovia? So again, he doesn't remember anything that's happened in this, he's been locked away inside the Hulk. So he's clueless. So you had this dynamic with Thor and Hulk, and now you have this secondary dynamic with Thor and Banner, which is very interesting.
Yes. Now, just like the opposite of the conversation that Thor and Hulk were having, now he's telling Banner, well, it would be helpful if you turned into the big guy to get us off this planet. I'm useful.
Right.
Banner is useful. Is he, though?
I have 7 PhDs.
How many does the Hulk have?
Right.
And they call themselves the Revengers.
The Revengers, yeah. Start a new team.
Because we're going to get revenge.
Welcome, Strongest Avenger. Yeah. The interesting thing is that it's clear that, Mark Ruffalo did all the motion capture as the Hulk because it looks like him facially and whatnot. I don't know if you know this, and I'm not sure if this is even real, but up until this movie, anytime he's the Hulk, it's voiced by Lou Ferrigno.
Ruffalo never voiced it before Ragnarok?
That's what I read. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true at all. And if that's the case,
that can't be. That can't be because that big line in Avengers when he says Hulk is always angry, that's definitely Mark Ruffalo.
Right. But I think it's like the growls and the and all that stuff for Lou Ferrigno. And I could be wrong. you'd think I would actually do a deeper dive on that little fun fact.
Oh,
but,
if that were the case, I really hope that they did up Ferrigno green with the wig in the
he
recording
just shows up.
studio.
Yeah, he probably just walks around green all day long anyways. He is at every one of these conventions. This man is milking this role for 45 years. And I say kudos to you, sir.
Well, he's not the only one doing that at these conventions, I'm sure. Milking.
No, yeah, these guys who, the David Prowse.
Yep.
Not the.
I got Lou Ferrigno. Where's Sam Jones? He's my next stop.
I want to meet Sam Jones, but Lou Ferrigno actually cornered the market on Polaroids long before people actually had phones on their cameras. He would charge you $30 to take a Polaroid with him.
Hey, it's expensive, Polaroid film.
Yeah, but that's smart. Yeah. Look at this right there. Boom. Shake it off. And now we can sign that too.
Yeah. So Valkyrie's on the team at this point in the movie, along with Banner and Thor. And she's like, who's this guy? Because she has no idea.
Yeah, that's interesting. Right. Because he's like, I feel like I know you. I feel like I know you too. And it's like, yeah.
And then Loki shows up. He's like, I want to be on the team. And then Thor takes them aside and tells them this hilarious story about when we were kids, I really loved snakes. And I picked up the snake and I was admiring it. And then he said, it's me. And then he stabbed me.
Loki's just messing with his brother at every opportunity. It's like, come on, dude. No wonder why you had to get a hammer, beat your brother every day.
They have to go steal a ship, and he's like, as they're going in an elevator towards where the ships are, he's like, let's do call for help. He's like, I don't want to do call for help. It's embarrassing.
Oh, I know. So, this is so you're getting these little hints of like their past life as brothers, on Asgard and what they did for shits and giggles. Yeah, my brother needs help.
So they have a plan. They're going to steal a ship and go through the devil's anus. And
yeah, and he delivers this line so straight. Guys, we're coming up on the devil's anus. And it's like, how many takes did that take?
And at some point, Banner actually says, whose anus?
Right. Yeah. But don't they? So they get the ship. Because don't they go back to the Grandmaster? Because at one point, Valkyrie, because he's like, he wants them to go find his. Yeah,
that's when when the Hulk and Thor are first on the run, and Valkyrie's undecided yet as to if she wants to join them. He gives them an ultimatum. Like,
he's like, I can find them in 12 hours. Oh, I can do it in 2. And it's like, it's like, name that tune. It's like, I can find this guy in 2 minutes. Yeah, devil's anus. Yeah, and he's constantly pulling at his tight pants, which is pretty funny because apparently Tony wears, well, they're not the same size, but yeah. He's wearing Tony Stark's clothes. So.
But Tony Stark apparently has stretchable underwear because he's got some pants on when he shows up as the Hulk a little bit later.
It's true.
So they steal a ship, which turns out to be an orgy ship that the Grandmaster uses.
Yeah, man.
There's a nice battle, an aerial battle over Sakaar until they actually make it through the anus and get back to Asgard. And Scourge is just about to execute this poor Asgardian woman.
Yeah, well, like I said, he's a little hesitant. He's like, wait a minute, what did I sign up for?
But he raises the axe until somebody stops him and says, I know where the sword is. So all is about to be lost on Asgard until Thor and the team show up.
Yeah, and I do like Banner's like, this is Asgard. I thought it'd be nicer. It's like, wow, dude, I can take you back. To the garbage planet. You want to go back there?
So Asgard is just a planet, right? It's not like it's some...
It's a realm. It's not a planet per se. It is a free-floating
It's like
Earth.
Like Cloud City, but in space.
Yeah, it defies description because obviously there's breathable air, but you need a rainbow bridge in order to get there. I guess. I don't know. It looks good. It looks cool. Giant pipe organ in the middle of the city.
I wonder if that's what that is. There's just like a big organ on the bottom of that thing.
Surtur just comes in and starts playing it. But yeah, this is where Hela takes out Thor's eye.
Yes, because, he now has the power of the sparkly fingers, so he's confident again. But he's still not a match for her. So she takes his eye out. She stabs him a couple of times. But in the meantime, Heimdall, as she's been distracted, is taking all of Asgard onto the Rainbow Bridge to escape.
To another ship. Yeah, they're getting onto a ship.
They're getting onto another Sakaarian ship, which apparently is big enough to hold the entire population of Asgard.
Did that also come through the Devil's Anus?
I would assume
Like,
so.
where did this giant ship come from?
Yeah.
So, yes, he's getting them all on board. And this is where Banner... Oh, so Fenric, the big giant wolf, is barreling down on these people. I'm going to eat them all. And so this is where Banner jumps out of the ship. And he's like, I'll take care of this.
And he says to Tessa Thompson, you think you know me? I'm going to show you where you know me from. And jumps. And then
right.
just...
He wasn't angry enough because he just plops onto the bridge. So, again, this is like the ball bouncing off Thor's face.
So
It's
now
just
is the
such
Hulk, because obviously it looks like he's broken every bone in his body by doing this, but when he becomes the Hulk, heals like Wolverine?
I don't know. But yeah, you don't see him turn into the Hulk. The wolf is like, huh. He just kind of sniffs him and walks away, and then all of a sudden, he's being pulled.
It'd be funny if the wolf like swallowed him, and then he burst.
And then he had to break his way through. But we saw that. Didn't we see that with Drax and?
We did, but that
Guardians
came later.
too.
I think it came later, maybe. But
so they're like, all right, we're gonna hold off on that gag. But yeah, that would have been. Nobody wants to see a dog get eviscerated from the inside. So yeah, so this is a pretty epic fight scene.
It is, and it goes underwater. So you see that the Hulk bleeds green because the dog bites him and breaks his skin and is dragging him around the water. But then the dog goes over the waterfall and the Hulk manages to hang on.
Apparently this dog can't swim. So, but this is also where Thor is just like, oh, yeah, we're done here. And he gets a vision of Odin. Odin, this is where he tells him, what are you, the god of hammers? No, you're the god of thunder. He goes, I'm not as strong as you. No, you're stronger. Okay, thanks for the pep talk.
But this is where, again, we get Immigrant Song.
Yeah, sure. It's like his power ballad. Yeah, we saw him fighting at the beginning with this song. So, yeah, it's epic.
It's not enough. Even the Immigrant Song is not enough to beat Hela. He does take out a lot of her demon army, but not her. That's where he comes to the realization that the only way to stop her is Ragnarok, because Hela takes her power from Asgard. Yet, we're told earlier, Hela takes her power from Asgard just like you do. So you would think that destroying Asgard would leave him powerless.
Leave him powerless. Yeah.
It's not the case. But the only way to do it is to put Surtur's crown, which is his skull.
Oh, I thought that was that's your crown? I thought that was a big eyebrow. And it shrinks. Like when he finally takes it and he's carrying it around, it's like the width of his shoulders.
Yeah.
But clearly this monster is huge. So I guess it grows.
So he has to put it in the Eternal Flame, which is also in the Asgardian vault.
There's a lot of steps.
Yeah. The bangles surround it and play its theme song as it's burning.
Susanna Hoff gives you that side eye.
Yeah.
Oh, it still melts me to this day. She makes me want to walk like an Egyptian.
So Loki is tasked with going to the vaults and putting Surtur's head into the Eternal Flame. But he pauses in front of your favorite MacGuffin, the
Everyone's
Tesseract.
favorite, the Tesseract. We can't go one movie without this stupid thing showing up. It is all powerful. It doesn't matter what movie, we have to have the Tesseract.
No. Scourge redeems himself because he huddles just like on the sinking Titanic with all the women and children getting on this ship.
Right.
But then he sees that he has an opportunity to do some good, so he takes out Des and Troy and jumps out of the ship and takes a few dead army guys with him.
And we also find out that Meek's alive.
So look, guys, he's alive.
He's alive. And then every time we see Meek, he's just carrying him around.
Yeah.
He's just a slug.
You know, he had like a mecha suit where he could actually walk
he had like
himself,
knives for arms.
Yeah.
So we never really saw Meek fight or be taken out. But
no, Meek does fight with the knives. Yeah, when they're escaping Sakaar. Surtur gets giant, just like he said he would, and starts to destroy Asgard, and Hela freaks out. She focuses her attention on fighting Surtur, because she knows she's done if he destroys Asgard.
Yeah.
And Hulk...
I just got back here. I just got home.
Hulk jumps in, and Thor says something like, oh, there's no stopping it now. And then on cue, Hulk jumps in and starts pounding on Surtur. They're like, do not smash, Hulk. Could the Hulk have beaten Surtur?
I don't know. All you got to do is take that crown off.
Yeah.
If you could just rip it off his head.
Then the Hulk's like, but big monster. He's like,
Hulk wanna smash. Bad Hulk. So they leave the two of them to.
so everybody gets on the
Hash it out.
Sicarian ship, and Surtur sinks his sword right into the bridge and right through Hela, and all of Asgard explodes.
Yeah, kaboom.
Now, if Loki left the Tesseract there, would Thanos have been able to get it? Just in like the wreckage?
But we were told also that everything in that museum was fake.
Well, obviously the
was it
Tesseract
actually
wasn't fake because he had to
Right.
get it from Loki.
So yeah, which we see immediately.
And if none of this had
Infinity War.
happened, if none of this Ragnarok had happened, if Odin was still on the throne,
Yep.
would Thanos have been able to defeat Asgard? Because he would have had to have get it out of the vault.
He would have. Yeah. He would have just hired Scourge to go and steal it.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah. You are the custodian. Why don't you go down there and grab that thing for me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I guess we'll never know.
But yeah, Loki does the job for him.
Yeah. My guess is it all would have been off screen anyways. Oh, yeah. By the way, Asgard's destroyed. What? What? Yeah. Thanos destroyed it.
Yep.
You didn't see it. We didn't have the budget.
Yeah.
Yep. So now where are we going to go? Well, we don't have a home. I got all these refugees. Anybody bring your passport? No. Nope. Not really sure where we're going to go. Well, Earth it is then. Yeah, they love me there. Everything's going to work out fine.
And they crown Thor as the new king of Asgard, but he can't even celebrate as who shows up in the mid-credit scene.
Is Thanos, yeah.
So it's a huge cliffhanger of
That's
an
a
ending.
big ass ship, by the way.
It is.
That is
because
a monstrous ship compared to this thing that they're
taking into account that the entire population of Asgard is on the ship that is being
I think there's a
dwarfed.
lot of people who didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, they're like the unicorns that never made it onto the ark. They're like still back there going, are you remember that dinosaur? That poor scene in the Jurassic World when the poor dinosaurs are left on the dock.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We'll come back for you. We're not coming back for them. Yeah.
So it's a huge cliffhanger, and you didn't get resolution even in the next movie because Black Panther came out after this before we were able to get Infinity War. If you remember,
But wasn't Infinity War 18? Wasn't it just the
it
next
was.
year?
So
Or
was
no?
so was
Okay.
Black Panther.
All right.
Black Panther came out, I think, in March of 18.
Okay. And then Infinity War was probably
A few months, I think May. Yeah.
That's usually like the big.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
of course-
all things considered, it's not like you're waiting 3 years.
This is true. And of course, it does open with this scene.
Yeah. It
Infinity War
literally
does.
picks up. Yeah. Infinity War picks right up where this left off.
Although lots of other stuff happens off camera in Infinity War. You're like, where's all the other Asgardians? Where's Valkyrie? Because they only
Yeah.
explain in later, like in Endgame or maybe even Love and Thunder, that she took them off
Somehow they
and-
made it to Norway.
and made their escape. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that yeah. Because this is all like simultaneous. I mean, he's literally right there on top of the ship.
So,
So
when
how would they escaped?
exactly when Infinity War came out and like you see Thor, like he's bound by Thanos and he takes out the Hulk. Heimdall is killed. Loki is
Takes out
killed.
Loki,
and you
yeah.
see other dead bodies surrounding them.
Right. But those are probably all the people that just fought back. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that Thanos would really care if they escape because eventually he's going to get all the stones and just snap half of humanity out of existence anyways.
This is true. But I think at the time you assumed that everybody was dead on that ship since
Correct.
you didn't see them escape, that Valkyrie
Right.
was dead, but just happened off camera.
So you're right, though. Then all of a sudden they've already got this established society in Norway,
Yeah.
like fishing villages. That is seemed a big leap in logic there. Oh, man, it's unraveling. The whole thing is unraveling right before our very eyes. None of this makes sense.
This is just an amazing movie to me. I love it. I laugh every time.
Yeah,
I
no,
watch
there's
it.
always you find something different every time. These little quibbles and these little weird, like, say what you will about Love and Thunder, which we just did at the beginning, that this is spot on. You know, what it would have been with another director with a more serious tone, who knows?
Obviously, it would have been a different movie. I don't think that anybody could have come close to this other than Taika Waititi. The color scheme, the set design, everything is just spot on. The soundtrack, that pulsing electronic score is fantastic. And of course, we talked about it, the use of Immigrant Song is so memorable in here as well. And they managed to balance the Sakaar storyline with the Hela storyline perfectly.
Yeah.
So I think in Love and Thunder, what's lacking is like the sheer ridiculousness. It goes into even more opposite directions than Ragnarok did. You've got the Christian Bale character who is like frightening. He's so serious.
Yeah.
Then you've got Russell Crowe doing a Super Mario accent on the other hand.
I forgot about him. I almost want to go and watch this movie now so I can either say, yep, nope, it sucked, or
it's a me, Zeus.
He was so over the top. Oh, I just remember the goats. The screaming goats.
Somebody must have said on set, this is not a good idea. But no, apparently not.
I did see that Chris Hemsworth, when he was working out for this movie, like had to eat up to 6,000 calories a day. That's a lot of food.
Eating.
You got to fuel. You got to put a lot of fuel into that engine to work out like that.
You see him on the behind the scenes features. In between takes, he's lifting weights.
Sure. Well, that's, you got to keep that.
Never stops.
You got to keep that looking tight. Do a couple push-ups before they hit action. Any detracting reviews out there? Or is it all pretty universal?
No, there were. Although when you read the detracting reviews, again, going back to our discussion of Godzilla King of the Monsters, critics just tore that apart, and you realize that these are people that should not have been watching this in the first place. Time magazine gave it a bad review.
No.
Thor Ragnarok is packed tight with zooming space vehicles and noisy thunder battles, but the movie's extravagant excess is more narcotizing than energizing. Is narcotizing a word?
Boy, he had to break out the thesaurus for that one.
They added, even poor Thor seems lost in all of it, and he's supposed to be the star.
Yeah, I don't think you got the point of this.
No. The visual effects are an instance of fun overkill and a special effects coma.
Overkill. These special effects are just too much. It's too good.
The New York Times called the story an uninteresting thicket of brawls, machinations, and useful coincidences.
Useful coincidences. That's every movie.
Yes.
That's every movie. Every movie you could tear apart. Every storyline. I did see.
And Variety, there's one more.
Okay.
Variety called the movie preposterous, but praised Jeff Goldblum.
Who is preposterous?
Yes.
That's literally, I think, his middle name.
Every single Marvel movie is preposterous. This wasn't reality at all.
Are you going to tell me this guy actually has the power of a god? Yeah, that's where we're going with this. I did see there's one line in an Empire review that just said, daft as a badger sandwich and twice as funny. And I was like, okay, you get it. Get it. Because how funny is a badger sandwich? I'm not entirely sure.
Although those 3 bad reviews kind of sound like what we said about Love and Thunder on that episode. So...
Well, I bet you could probably find a lot of detractors on Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, there's people who are like, all right, this is where the studio needed to kind of rein him in a little bit. And I feel like when we first saw it, that... it seems like there were some studio notes that they, and it just was all over the place. There was no cohesive thought. And I thought maybe it needed more Taika Waititi, but maybe I was wrong in that they just let him, after the success of this, they're like, this guy can do no wrong. Let's just let him go. And you're like, no.
So I think they rethought their whole game plan with that, letting directors.
See, but this is the never ending. We talk about this all the time. The idea that movies actually get made with so many fingers in, the investors and the studios and everyone's got notes. And it's like you bring in these directors who have these unique visions and then you just do everything in your power to kowtow them. That's like bringing in a star quarterback who runs around and he's on fire and he's making ridiculous plays. And then the next season, it's like, well, we just paid you $60 million. So we don't want you running around anymore because you're going to get hurt. So you're taking away the one thing that this guy did best and was successful at. Well, so I feel taking these directors and it's like, oh, we're going to bring in Edgar Wright. He's got a very unique voice. And we're just going to take this over.
So interestingly enough, Alan Taylor, who directed Dark World, as I said before, was going to come back, but he turned it down. So the reason being, he said, when I was making Dark World, I was given free rein during production, and then suddenly in post-production, it became a completely different movie.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go through that again. I would not wish that upon any other director, he said.
Think about these directors who, lose, they fight. I want final cut, the Ridley Scotts of the world, I want final edit. Well, no, we're paying you, you do your job. But at the end of the day, it's our movie. It's like, well, then no, I don't, because my name's attached to this thing. And if you butcher it or you start taking crap out, then it loses something.
Yeah.
And that's why we end up with these director cuts and we get these all these other alternate versions out there.
Of course, these Marvel movies, it goes without saying that there's a big marketing push and there's merchandise and there's toys. I would have liked to have seen like a big wolf, the Hella's wolf thing. And I don't think that was ever released as a toy. Fenric, was that his name?
Fenric, I believe is his name, yes.
Sounds like a leprechaun.
Hi, it's Fenric the leprechaun. Hi. The one interesting thing is that you talk about all the tie-ins and the T-shirts and the sleeping bags and the action figures and the McDonald's Happy Meals never translate into people actually going into a freaking comic book store and buying a comic book. Go back to the source material. And yet, for some reason, we're still catering to, 50-year-old men who grew up reading comic books that are now fighting over who's stronger, Superman or Batman.
Superman, definitely.
Well, yeah, I picked two really poor choices there. Although Batman, there was a storyline where Batman,
unless your mother's name is Martha, then it puts you on an equal.
That's true.
Playing fields, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, we are inducting Ragnarok today into the 5-bucket club, onto the 5-bucket list. So let us sound the fanfare.
Yes, it's definitely a 5-bucket. This is worthy of the honor.
If I'm not mistaken, when we did that, our favorite Marvel movies all the way back in episode 2, I believe Ragnarok was number 2 on my list, only second to Winter Soldier, and that remains.
Yes. Yeah, I'm there with you. I think we were probably in lockstep on that one because I do like Winter Soldier a lot. Completely different movie, which is great. The fact that you can have these type of movies in the same universe and completely different feel and energy.
A lot of these characters need their own different feel and energy, and that's the strength of all these characters in the MCU.
Yeah, but like we said at the beginning, if this was our first introduction to Thor, people would be losing their minds. It's like, what are you doing? This is not Thor. But because we've had him in numerous movies, the 2 Thor movies, who they do take themselves, this character takes himself very seriously. Avengers, and so now you're having a little fun with him. Even Bruce Banner, the Hulk it's very enjoyable.
They do this so well. They lean into the preposterousness, the ridiculousness,
which is the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we never saw Hell again. We never saw Grandmaster again.
Didn't we see Grandmaster do like a quick cameo in something?
I think there was. I thought it was like an end credit here, but it's not. Where he's like been outcast.
Well, you see him at the very end credit of this movie say, when he's like coming out of this compartment that's in the garbage dump.
Are you fighter or food?
Are you fighter or food? All those people are looking at him, and he says, "Okay, great revolution. It's a tie."
Right. Can we all go back? Can I get back to my tower now?
So he'd be nice to revisit, actually. Sakar's still there.
Yeah.
Maybe if we finally get a standalone Hulk movie, maybe they'll go back to Sakar.
Which is interesting that they really have not done that.
Is that because, I think it's because Universal still has the rights tied up.
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
That would be, Okay.
You'd think that the MCU could just transgress anything.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean,
not.
like I said, even in the She-Hulk, it's a completely different character. He's now Smart Hulk, who's doing yoga.
Yeah, we need him to lose that. We need the old.
Yeah, no,
Hulk
you need
back.
to. Yeah. I mean, it was funny, and when Hulk didn't want to come out, and Banner's running around in the Hulkbuster suit, but
yeah, a standalone Hulk movie. We could have a red Hulk. We could have a blue Hulk. We could have every color Hulk under the sun,
Rainbow
all
Hulk.
fighting each other in a battle royal.
Rainbow Hulk, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could easily go back and fill in this gap, although you'd have to do something. I don't know. I mean, we already saw him in the Coliseum fighting people. So.
But maybe it was just like some maiden, and he never knew that he was a dad until the events of She-Hulk. Because suddenly he was like, I got to go back to Sakaar.
Yeah. You actually name your kid after the place in which he was birthed? Because his name is Scar, right? I think is his name.
Yeah, this is my son, New York.
Well, I think that's where Winona Ryder's name came from. Her parents gave birth in Winona, or was conceived in some town called Winona.
I would understand that if you're like passing through and you're pregnant and you give birth there, but not if it's like your hometown. That'd be awkward.
This is my daughter, White Plains. Yeah. That's a Hudson Valley callback right there. All right. Well, there you go. 5 buckets.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
A worthy inclusion.
Yeah.
As
These
Thor
5 buckets
says,
are.
as Thor says to Doctor Strange when Doctor Strange says he's on my list of most wanted or whatever he says.
Yeah.
A worthy inclusion.
More beer, please.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.
Okay, son.